Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of me rambling over a cup of coffee, and this time about no hierarchy. And this time I want to chat about how my roadmap, how I find myself engaged in the concept of no hierarchy, what I've done so far, my experience, etc. So, start with a zip. I thought that, I'm thinking that everything started actually while I was serving in the army. And while I was serving in the army, I find out that as being part of a unit, I found out that a different team in the unit has different level of success when they're going to conduct special operation. Some of them are coming back with huge success, and some of them are failing miserably. All have the same training, all have the same talent, all have everything inside. But for some reason, one team managed to excel while the other team is not. And there are many reasons that people might relate to that. It might be leadership, it might be many elements. And I know that there are examples where you switch leadership between different groups, and you can see how leadership managed to take a group that was low performance to a high performance. But I don't think that just leadership is a leadership. It's not a person that does the change. It's actually what he believes in and how he conduct his action that reflect on other people and create different culture or different way of operation within a team. But anyway, this is what sparks everything, the thought, why, or the passion about understanding why certain groups are high performer and why certain groups are not. And I took this approach when I kept on and went to the university there as well, the same idea. You have those study groups, and sometimes there are the same people in different study groups, and for some reason, not all the study groups are excelling. One of them are excelling very well, but the others are much less. And that's pretty interesting to understand why group is excelling and why other group is not, when you have the same combination of people. And by the way, study group, the leadership is definitely is not nominated. There is no hierarchy. There is no nomination of any leaders. Those are groups that form together to reach some goal that everyone in the group will be beneficial, and yet part of them are success and part of them are not. And it was bother me what caused it. Like what is the main reason that push one organization to be, or one group to be success, while the other group to be not. So that was actually the army and university. That was sparks everything. That the thoughts start to emerge, or the need to understand what caused it start to emerge, and I start to think about it. But I didn't have any answer for those questions. When I finished university, obviously like everyone else, I went to work and I found myself in the startup industry, and the same thing again. So you see startups that are highly successful, and you see startups that are huge failure, and sometimes you see the same people in different startups, and one combination is a success, and one combination is a failure, and very hard or very tough to understand what is the base, what caused certain groups to be highly successful and what caused other groups not to be. And I'm not sure that it's a simple question with a simple answer. Anyway, those thoughts kept on developing in my head, and they reached the peak when I was consulting one of the major counterterrorism organization in the world. And while working with them, they start to experience a wave of suicide bombers. And it took them a lot of time and effort how to deal with this change. But the base of the transition between failure to success start in that organization when they realize, or when the lead realize, that working in silos in different departments to reach a goal of manage to overcome groups that are not hierarchical by nature and working differently, with no hierarchy, with no boundaries, with no specialties in certain department. When he realized that, and he started to change the way that this top hierarchical organization worked into hybrid groups that has full autonomy and authority to make decisions that are combined from different expertise from the old silos. Just when they managed to put that in place and to exercise that, those hybrid teams managed to beat the terror cells that they were responsible to deal with. And when I saw that, that was the epiphany for me. That was an understanding for me that actually you can achieve much more from teams when those teams are self-organized and self-managed, and they have authority and autonomy to reach their goals, when those teams are actually built from all the expertise that exists today in silos, but may be part of hybrid team. And when I reflect back, like take a startup, every time that a startup is small and have a lot of talent, and this talent found how to work in a way that they are forming groups that are hybrid, that have different skill set, and that are working together for the same goal, and they have their own autonomy to make decisions and to move forward, those startups tend to be much more successful than startups that are not. The startups that are organized in a more hierarchical way. Now, there is no yes or no, there's no black and white. But if you go and collect the data, you see that more of the successful startup took this approach of self-organization and self-managed and autonomy rather than a strict hierarchy that set up goals and order and tell people what to do, if it exists at all in startup. But there's definitely there's no black and white. There is a spectrum of options. And if you go back to army and units, I think that special units, especially special units that adopt the same operation pattern of autonomy and self-organized team that needs to work outside of the boundary of the country, well, in reality, they don't have any choice by doing that, because when you operate outside of the country, let's take the SEALs, and there's a book about it. When they're operating in outside of the boundary of the country, when they're operating in a hostile environment, there is no space or time to call someone to get an approval. You need to create teams that are self-sustained, that are self-organized, that are self-managed, that can, as a whole, reach a decision when they see any threat and act like one. And when special operation and teams within special operation manage to achieve this culture or this organization within their unit, you see unit or teams that excel. So that was the epiphany. This is where I realized, based on example, that the same people, actually, no one left. So the same people in the same organization dealing with the same problem managed to excel. Personally, like you can see people that used to be working without a box and now they are spreading all over. And you can see how the organization and managed to actually stop this suicide bombers wave completely. That was my realization why those type of organization are better than organization that are much more hierarchical in nature or has more control than no hierarchy organization. And regretfully, when I got this epiphany, I started up my own consultancy as an enterprise architect, and I started to go all around the world helping people to understand how to better create IT structure that fit to the company that they're part of. And obviously what I brought with me was this realization of if you want to create a successful IT group, you have to kill the silos within IT. You have to create a hybrid team within IT. You have to give to people in IT self-autonomy and a way to self-organize in order to deal with the issues and concerns and goals and expectation that IT has to deliver. And as a consultant, you can consult. So sometimes you have success, sometimes you have failure, but you don't have the ability to actually perform it. The change in my world happened when I accepted an offer to come and work as a full-time employee after almost 10 years of consultancy for a company in Texas that dealing with car distribution. And after a while, I found myself so obviously I brought with me this approach, and I started with leading a small team of enterprise architects, and slowly but surely, this approach brought me to be the CIO of this company. And when I was nominated as CIO of this company, I realized that the company has to deal with distribution of cars. It's automotive industry. The automotive industry is about to be disrupted any moment, or any major economy shift is going to disrupt the automotive industry as well. So keeping that in mind, that was one of the main drive for me, as well as the understanding and knowing that IT groups, hybrid IT groups, without clear department and hierarchy are much more successful and bring much more value to the organization than the other approach. Those two were together the main reasons why I managed to convince the leadership of our company to implement those ideas within IT. And we tried different ways. We tried DevOps as a culture and didn't succeed, not as a tool set. And then we tried Holacracy. We started with Holacracy, and we end up with something that is completely different from Holacracy. Holacracy wasn't a fit for us. But the concept of self-managed and self-organized and autonomy proved to work for me. And the main proof was during Harvey. So during Harvey, we lost our data center. And as part of the restoration, there needed really heroic action to be done in order to salvage or to move compute and storage resources that we didn't have enough in our backup, in our second data center from our main data center. And what I saw during Harvey is that the team that was running without hierarchy didn't wait for anyone to make decision. They didn't have questions, they didn't have clues, they weren't confused. They know exactly what they have to do. And each one of the individual or teams within the IT group took actions based on their best judge and moved forward without asking too many questions. And then led us to zero interruption to the business, although the experience that we went through was really, really chaotic for us. It was the first time that we exercised a real DR, that we actually lost the two buildings. And obviously, like any other company, the axioma was we're never going to lose those two buildings. We build them to survive, but no one can beat Mother Nature, and Mother Nature actually beat us. Anyway, this system proved to me that it's working very well in times of crisis. And that was kind of a proof that once we get into disruption in the automotive, whether it's a financial crisis or whatever it's a major disruption to the automotive industry, we have a group that is ready to deal with it. Now, isn't it easy? No. It's a major shift for people. So you are taking a group of people that were taught for many years to work in a hierarchical way. And now you are asking them to switch their belief system, their behavior, to trust themselves, to make decisions, to know that they are accountable for their decision, to be responsible, to be able to have self-awareness when they are dealing with other people in the group. Element that you never ask other people to do. And then I realized that the army, so when I joined the army walks you through the same process, depends on the unit that you are going through. But the army definitely in the boot camp, general boot camp, and then in the boot camp of each and every unit, use elements and methods that you can't use at work that force people to change their perception on the world, force them to work in a different ways and a different method that they used to work before. So we can't take our guys and walk them through it. No one can do it, and you can do it in any company. You can't take a group of people and walk them through a boot camp. The only alternative that you have is a slowly and sometimes painful process where people slowly had to deal by themselves with scenarios of self-management and self-organization and self-awareness. And those scenarios are not so easy, but this is the only way to teach people to be ready to such to disruptions that will require them to work in that way. And to be honest enough, those requirements are needed anyway. So that's all. I hope that I managed to define very nicely my path, my experience. Someone decided to call me now, so I'm going to end up. So this ring of phone won't disrupt this video. See you next time. Bye.